It's Song Talk Radio with Michael, Neil, Phil, and the gang.
Welcome to Song Talk Radio, the show with songwriters talking to other songwriters about the craft of songwriting. We share tips, tools, and techniques, and together we all become better at writing songs. And you know, in a way, we become better people. I'm your host, Mike Proudfoot, and with me are the members of the Song Talk Radio Action Team. My co-hosts, Phil Emery. How are you doing, Phil? Suntanned, sunburned?
Sunburned, even though I'm in St. John's, but I am trying to get a bit better each and every day as a person.
That is good. It's good to have goals, no matter how unattainable they may be. And Neil Modi, how are you, Neil? Also sunburned?
No, not quite sunburned. Didn't spend too much time in the sun this weekend, but I'm hearing this thing about better people. I'm still trying to wrap my head around that, but getting there.
About how we might become better people?
Something like that.
Well, I think as songwriters, we express the universal and we connect to people and we stir the emotions, and I think that's a good thing.
We just write jingles.
Or we just write, or dirty limericks.
I'm doing it for chicks.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
For the children. I'm doing it for the money.
For the money.
And for the children.
The children.
During the show, please, our lovely listeners, feel free to send your comments and questions to @SongTalkRadio on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram. Or if you'd like to send us an email, then you can send an email to feedback@songtalk.ca, and we will share your thoughts, your comments with the audience, unless they're really mean and hurtful, in which case we'll keep them to ourselves. Oh, and please visit us at songtalk.ca to find out how you might be a guest on the show. Speaking of guests, before we get to our guests, we have a little bit of news and information. First thing I'd like to point out, if you were thinking about going to Vegas to see Aerosmith, because they have a residency there, don't. Apparently, they've canceled the gigs up until September because Steven Tyler has gone back into rehab because of a painkiller addiction because of his injured foot. So you'll have to hold off on that. And what else we got? Neil, we still have our ongoing Song Talk Challenge. Could you fill our listeners in about that? Yeah,
in case you guys don't know yet, because you certainly should, because you've been listening to the podcast, right?
Aren't you?
Aren't you? Our Song Talk Radio.
You're subscribing to our YouTube channel, aren't you?
Somehow. Seen the webpage at least. Okay, so our songwriting challenge for this year is to write based on a title. And of course, the title we picked is Why Do You Cry? And the three of us hosts have been sharing our answers to the challenge on the podcast the last few weeks. And I did mine, and Mike did his last week. And Phil is queued up on deck for next week. And so it's been an interesting challenge so far. We've been getting submissions from our listeners as well. So keep them rolling in, guys. It's really great to hear your answers to the challenge. And of course, next month, we'll be doing at least an episode or two on our listeners' answers, which is always a great way to spend the podcast talking about that stuff. How's your song coming along, Phil?
It's coming along quite well, actually. It's been a very different approach to writing a song, and it's interesting as you go along. You sort of get these ideas and go, "Oh, maybe I'll try that," and it's kind of fun.
Mm-hmm. Perfect.
It's a great way of putting yourself out of your comfort zone to try something new.
Yeah, for sure.
Hence, challenge. It challenges you, and it's been very good at doing that. This is our third annual, and each one of them has been very good at challenging each of us,
for sure,
and pushing us into creating songs in a way that we had not hitherto done. Phil, do you have a summit you'd like to mention? I can't remember. Did you have something that you had something newsy, something?
Well, there's a really fascinating podcast by Rick Beato, I think Neil was telling us about.
Yeah. I'm subscribed to Rick Beato on YouTube. And if you guys are not subscribed to Rick Beato, you should definitely be. He's got a great series on what makes this song great, where he talks about mostly classic rock songs and stuff. And and dissects them track by track and really talks about a lot of stuff. He's got some things on music theory, and he's a really, really good content creator. And looks like he's starting his own podcast. And the first episode, he's interviewing author Ted Goya, Gioia. And I've never heard of this guy before, but it's an over an hour podcast. It took me a couple of days to get through it. And it had a really, really fascinating discussion, because the title of this podcast is A Warning on the Future of Music. And this author, Ted Goya, he's a writer, really. He does write a lot about music, but he also writes about other things. And he's saying how publications and things are constantly, over the last 10, 15, whatever years, are constantly asking him to write shorter and shorter essays and articles. And where it used to be 3,000 words and it was 1,000 words. Now, can you give me a 400-word article on this topic? Because everything is getting smaller and smaller soundbite type of things. And, the future of music maybe is 16-second songs on TikTok. And he also gets into this really interesting discussion about how like we've all experienced this as musicians, where you sort of get into the zone. And even as listeners, you get into that zone where you're kind of in this almost a meditative state where you're vibing with the music, and it's really kind of in your inner being kind of thing. And they've done studies where it takes like 10 minutes of a groove, to sort of get you there, or sort of a rhythmic repetition to get you to that state. So 16-second songs on TikTok, you just couldn't understand how that possibly could be a future. But they get into a whole bunch of different related topics, and I actually started listening to an NPR episode with Ted Goya talking about was music discovered or was it invented? And he goes back into these really interesting historical tidbits about Western music in particular, and how it evolved over time, and Pythagoras and what he had to say, and what his influence on it was, and all the sort of cultural stuff around it and stuff, and really, 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 really fascinating stuff. And he's a really good speaker too, as far as just explaining stuff. And I would definitely recommend.
Now, would I be right if I pointed out that when we post this show, that link will be available?
That link will be available.
Songtalk.ca.
You're darn tootin'.
All right. Perfect.
I'm keeping notes as we go along.
Excellent. Well, now let's get to the main event. He's returning by popular demand. And when I say popular demand, I mean us, because we really enjoyed having him on as a guest before, and his music is fantastic. Tonight's guest is a multi-instrumentalist and songwriter with a uniquely imaginative multi-genre style that is refreshingly difficult to categorize. Gilbert Neal was born in Buffalo, New York, and currently is based in North Carolina. He is first and foremost a songwriter, with most of his lyrics being quite personal, telling a specific story or referring to a particular incident or an extremely eventful life. Thematically, Gilbert is inspired by religion, politics, sex, loss, and even parental love. His sometimes quirky songs can be tongue-in-cheek, theatrical, and somewhat socialist, frequently weaving in and out sexual and godless messages in the lyrics, though perhaps it feels socialist and godless down in North Carolina. Up here in Canada, it's just par for the course. Now, in the wake of a pandemic that waxes and wanes but never quite finishes, Neal delivers a provocative and bitingly personal record, I'll See You When I See You. And in it, Neal tackles a very wide swath of emotional content. On one level, it maps the dissolution of perhaps a virtual, maybe a long distance, but a romantic entanglement. And on another level, it explores the mystery and dread suddenly globally framed by the perception of Russian culture. Hello, Gilbert. Welcome back to Song Talk Radio.
Hi. Thank you very much. Good to be back.
Great to have you. So, so many questions, but let's start kind of wide and we'll narrow down. This latest release of yours, where did it come from? What spurred it? What's it all about, man?
I had a friend who he actually produced my first album. And we were very close since we were kids, and he was sort of falling apart. And he said that, we people only have kindness to offer. And so I went online, of course, and the first opportunity I got to give kindness to someone was in Russia. and they were trying to assemble a podcast about gaming, and I just gave them advice about equipment and things like that. The person I spoke to became a very close friend. We talked just about every day, went back and forth, discussed their culture, my culture, and all the things that were different. I'd show them around grocery stores and stuff. But eventually, the relationship turned into the same thing that's doomed a lot of relationships of mine, which is me. And I used to think that it was sort of just being unlucky, but I realized that the whole thing was about me and my need for validation on many fronts. And we stopped talking because this person who lived thousands of miles away ended up having the same problem with me that other people had. And it made me really think of validation and the need for it and where it comes from as sort of an ethereal sort of love affair with a woman, and how you can just, how they just, everything can just go away if you don't cage that thing, and that's what the whole album is about. It's about validation, and my various run-ins with different people.
It sounds obviously very personal. How difficult was it to excavate these very personal feelings and lay them out in song form and expose them to the world?
Well, the first thing I had to do was go. I saw a therapist about it, and eventually came up with the answer. It's me. It's not them. These various people of different phases of my life. It's not their fault. It's my fault. I keep doing the same thing. I keep treating people with either bad value because I don't see enough reciprocal, or I treat them with great value even though they give me nothing. And that's internal. That's all me. And it was really hard to admit. And I'm very grateful to her for doing that. And she didn't even mean to. But that's where Russia comes in, because Russia is somebody so far away that you'll never meet in your life. And all you have is good intentions. All you want to be is kind and giving. And it just falls apart. It just crumbles to the ground. And it's because of you. So it was very hard, because it's really confessing that if I could go back and tell everybody, it's my fault. It's my fault. No one else's. My fault.
So did the album start off with that intent, or did it wind up with that intent?
Lyrically, it wound up with that intent. The whole thing started, it was supposed to be, my last album was called Mistakes of Memory, and it was all supposed to be one big thing that no one bought. It turned into two little things that no one bought. But I took the first half because I wanted to put something out that no one bought. And so that's Mistakes of Memory. And then the second half was going to be the songs that I had left over from the thing that no one bought. But I also had a fugue that I thought was really nice. I opened the last one with it, and I closed this one with it because I was really proud of it, because I was listening to a lot of Gentle Giant. But the song you're going to play, Vapor Girl, was a sort of a challenge in theory. Can I write two entirely different pieces of music with two entirely different themes and tones with the same melody? I mean, I know it can't be done, obviously, but the da 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 is the opening of melody, and it's also the closing melody with different chords and different instrumentation, and it turned into sort of an exercise. But eventually, Vapor Girl made herself plain, because that's the way I feel, and that's the way I feel about the ethereal nature of seeking validation when you don't validate yourself.
Was it easy for you to sort of, I mean, Mike alluded to this about the difficulty maybe with exposing yourself emotionally like that through song. Was like Vapor Girl's obviously a metaphor, like you even discussed it. It was this kind of ethereal thing. Was that a challenge for you to find the sort of gateway into expressing those emotions without expressing them plainly?
Yes. There's another song called, it's actually, I'll See You When I See You is the title song. And it's the same thing. It's like, everybody's the same. I'm the one who keeps changing. I'm the one who's like I'm like a model agent in that song, because I'm looking at these models thinking, you know, what can you do for me? What can you do for me? But eventually I'm the one who falls apart. I'm the one who is to blame for that. So Vapor Girl is very hard because it's taken me a long time to get here.
Mm-hmm.
A long time. And the songs I've done before then are sort of, there's humor, there's seriousness, there's theater, there's drama, there's all that stuff. But I've never laid myself bare as much as on this one. Because you have to commit.
Yeah. I was curious, with this new approach with lyrics and intent, how did it change how you approached it musically, or how you wrote the songs for this? Or did it? Well,
the way I really like to write is the same, and that is sing-song melodies with the world falling down underneath them. So if, like, for instance, Frere Jacques with nothing but, you know, augmented chords and flat fifths and things like that, that's what I like the best. So it really didn't change my musical aspect of it. It just changed it lyrically, and it gave it sort of a patina of distress, sort of like a really good Eagles throwaway song. Like if they put at the end of the album, they used to do that thing all the time. But it didn't really change the music. I just adore some of the instrumentation, some of the arrangements.
Let's get into the actual meat of the song, because it's really fascinating. Like, it's not a straightforward pop song, which is so cool. So let's talk about, how did you start off with a melody and then build chords underneath it? Did you start off with chords, come up with a melody, or?
I started with the sing-song melody. From Raleigh to St. Petersburg, I've been around the world. But I also have a program on my keyboard. It's a guitar program, and it simulates acoustic guitar strumming and everything like that. I hardly play guitar on this at all, but when you smush your fingers together and you set it a certain way, it came up with the main theme going through it. And that formed sort of the bedrock of the original part of it. But then eventually I had to keep going with other ideas. And that's where the combination of changing the entire structure beneath that sing-song melody came up later. In the middle, there's a sax solo, which sounds sort of like yacht rock, but I really wanted that to be a level of competence that I couldn't create. I wanted to hire soloists and people to create those solos and keep it really simple, and then devolve into these chords that don't sound good together at all.
So there are some key changes, I think, aren't there?
Every song.
So can we talk about the key changes?
I can't help it. Sure. I can't help it.
Yeah. Can we talk about the key changes in this song?
Sure. It has an ascending whole tone scale. The melody is not in a major scale. It's sort of a harmonic major, harmonic minor, whatever. And the end of it doesn't really have a key. It's a series of double whole steps descending. I'm not sure that it has a key. I'm not sure that it has a key. Not to say that it's great or it's genius or anything like that. I'm saying it doesn't really have a key, except for the solo. But even the solo, the sax solo, is just ascending whole tones. So whatever key that is, that's the key. C, C major, D major,
C major-ish.
Listen to the song. I mean, tell me what key it's in. I don't know.
Let's do that. This has gotten me very intrigued now because I did sort of take it at face value. I didn't really think about that musical aspect of it. So let's take a listen to it. But before we do, Gilbert, is there anything in particular in this song you want us to listen for? Any moment that you're particularly happy with, or?
I'm happy with the whole thing, but it's not really a single. It's not supposed to be a single. If you listen to it, it's just like the opposite of what a single should be. It's longish, and like you say, it's got constant key changes. I'm not even sure that it's in a key, but I think the lyrics are kind of clever, and we did a video for it, so that was some money that I spent on that thing.
Excellent.
Right.
How much you gonna play? I mean, I don't know.
The whole damn thing, man.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's listen to it.
All right.
I'll sit still. Whole tone, whole tone, whole tone, tritone down.
From Raleigh to St. Petersburg, I've been around the world. But for the first time in my life, I've met a vapor girl. Inside a world of oysters, I was searching for a pearl. But just as I was leaving, I saw my vapor girl. She stayed in rooms so gray and squalid. How I wish that she were solid. I tried to make her friendly, but she couldn't hold her booze. Cause she was mostly water and it all just went right through. Her misty, misty face, it tried to kiss me in the night. I closed my eyes, but she was gone before the morning light. Her essence is a problem that I cannot seem to fix. How can I claim her as my own with all her vapor tricks? She stayed in rooms so gray and squalid. How I wish that she was solid. gossamer opaque, and one too many coquetries was all that she could take. I rode that bench until I couldn't ride it anymore. But ride we must and ride and dust and ride until we're sore. I think about my vapor girl each time I'm on that wind. From Raleigh to St. Petersburg, she floats above my den. And maybe if you time it right, you'll have her for your own. And seize the please in her disease, it's me that she's outgrown. La 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 la. She lives in houses gray and squalid. How I wish that she was solid.
Very cool.
Fantastic.
I must admit, Gilbert, the first time I heard this song, I didn't pick. I was expecting, really radical key changes because I know your stuff from before, and I wasn't hearing it. And maybe it is because you're using this whole note scale, and you say you even admitted like maybe it doesn't have a key. But I think the other thing is like if you introduce a musical motif like that and you stick to it, the listener kind of gets accustomed to it very quickly.
Yeah.
And by the time the intro's done, it's like, okay, I'm in the zone. I'm in the vibe of this song. I'm in that tonal area that you've prescribed. And it seems to me that you do stick to it pretty consistently because the melodies all have that same shape. And
religiously,
especially if she stayed in Room So Gray and Squalid, like it rises up that whole note scale. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Cool.
I like the line. The thing I like about the song is the line, and sees the please in her disease. It's me that she's outgrown.
Yeah.
And it's just, I think it captures very, very nicely the fact that our relationship decayed because she's outgrown this whole thing with me, but yep.
And it's really interesting. I sees the please in her disease, like rhyme. And this song is very rhymey. The lyrics are very rhymey. And I wonder if that's something, is that a conscious choice to sort of soften the blow, if you will, from the musical weirdness of it? Yes. Right? To sort of, if you keep it rhymey, then it sort of makes it a little bit poppier, a little bit more easily digestible than it would be otherwise. Is that something you do strive for? Or?
Yes, it is. It's again, it's like, I like sing-songy things. There's a simplicity that I try not to like. If that's a cliche, I mean, that's my cliche, is doing that, is just, like I said, flat fits and lyrics that are maybe word games, I mean, I use the word plethysmograph in a couple of my songs, in a couple of my songs. Yes. It's like one is like a little bit, two of them.
I don't know what coquetries are. What are coquetries? Coquetries?
Coquetries. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
You know, Mike?
I took it to mean flirting.
Coquetries, niceties, like compliments, like being
coquettish, right?
Oh.
Yeah, like being flowery, complimentary, sort of fake seductive,
Yeah.
And who doesn't get enough of that? I mean, it's just, we're friends again. She and I are, by the way.
Oh, good.
But I had to sort of put a shock collar on my neck to
to know where the line is.
To know where the line is. And the line is every morning I cannot text her and say, "Hey, how you doing?"
Oh no.
I give it time to breathe. And so I'm trying to exercise that in my whole life and my other relationships. And it's hard because it's such learned behavior, and validation is a powerful drug. And I think it sort of defines everybody's childhood and however you get it. So when I was a parent myself, the thing that I would give them as far as validation is concerned is freedom. but a little guidance, like or to stay on the road a little bit. But you can do what you want, you know. So
I really like the.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I really like the during the solo. There's such an interesting chords. There's such an interesting chord on the end of each line. Like you have like this sort of phrase where and it's repeating, and it's a chord. It sounds like it's a borrowed chord. It doesn't sound like it's perfectly in key. That was so neat. It's one of them borrowed chords.
If I had a working piano or a guitar, I could tell you what the key of the verse is. But again, there's a flat fifth in there, and it doesn't make any sense. So
I'm sure our listeners will let us know what key it's in.
Please
They're very
do.
good at this.
That would be good, yeah.
Yeah, it's such an interesting thing. And then there's a really interesting key change after the solo into the next verse.
yeah,
Like it's not like it's a fifth, it's not like it's a fourth or a third. It's kind of jarring, but it's
you mean the acoustic part, the acoustic guitar part?
yeah, like when it comes to the solo, it's just
it's just like it's the melody is the same as the beginning.
yeah.
The melody line, but it's just different chords of different feel. The only thing that's the same, I think, is the tempo. But for the video, we cut it down a lot, and it sounds. I almost at the end of the unedited version, at the end when I'm doing those la la las, I sound like Betty Davis, or someone falling down the stairs, or Sunset Boulevard. That lady, Nora Desmond in Sunset Boulevard. But I don't know if I meant to do that or if I just ran out of energy.
because you do these kind of conceptual albums, and in particular because this one has a really long instrumental section in the middle, right?
Yeah,
you never hear that anymore, at least not in pop music. You ever dedicate a track in the middle of your album that's just an instrumental piece?
No. You know why I don't do that is because, first of all, I don't think my music is necessarily good enough. I think I'm a lyric guy, and I don't have time to do that. This is why I keep going, is because I don't think I have time to take on a side project. Let's do a Beatles cover band, or let's do Aerosmith before 1979. Let's do XTC. I just don't think I have time to do anything except for exactly what comes to me.
Okay.
And that means I can't collaborate. That means I can't, be in a cover band or a jazz group. It's because I'm really focused on getting out all of these ideas, before I stroke out.
So are you playing all the instruments on this?
No, less and less. As a matter of fact, the sax solo is by a fellow from Cleveland. I can't remember his name, but I have a guy up there, Jacob Wynn, who has an organization called the Cold City Horns. And whenever I need horns, I use him. He plays the trumpet solo at the end of Are We Even on this album. That is it just blows my mind. He's so good. And it's so good to have these people. I'm trying not to piss him off too much with my need for validation, but, and I'm using other guitar players. I use a guitar player from Russia. The voice actress you heard was Ekaterina from Moscow. So as much
people.
What is it called? Sound Better.
Sound Better?
Yeah, soundbetter.com.
I've heard of that. Yeah.
So that's where you find, really competent guitar players. I've got pedal steel and all that stuff. The only thing I won't give up is bass guitar. That's never going to happen. I'm never going to use another one. Okay. Because I paid too much for the one that I have, so I'm going to use it.
Of that,
Every song, So
yeah. Well, and if that's your wheelhouse, if that's your primary instrument, then yeah, you don't want to give that up.
But then again, I mean, you're a songwriter, Neil. I mean, you hear those things. You can parse those things.
Yes.
Whereas, somebody like who I went to high school with, who's maybe a Facebook friend who hears this, they're going to think this is stupid. Why are you releasing this as a single? Well, there you are.
Yeah.
It's nice the fact that it's actually 5 minutes. I've been so worried about doing short songs, and I don't know if we should be worried about that, especially because, I don't think I'll ever be on the hit parade. So there's mainly because I use the phrase hit parade.
Next on the hit parade, number 4 with a bullet. It's Gilbert Neal with
Gilbert Neal.
Vapor Girl's been on the top of the charts for 5 weeks now. So the first song on this album is 8 minutes long. And I agree with you.
Like 3 songs. I listened to it. It's like 3 songs.
It is 3 songs. See?
Things still going on.
That's what my wife said. But anyway, please just edit that out.
No way.
So when I was in a band, one of our instrumentalists, his house we used to use, and he used to smoke an awful lot of dope. And I used to come over early because we would have these little conversations, and we had talked about this very thing. Can you write a song with 3 minutes in mind? Can you say, I'm going to write a 3-minute song? And my position to him was, yes, you can, but then you have, then you're gearing your art towards something that's artificial. I'm going to write the longest song ever, like John Cage, or I'm going to write a song that has nothing but swear words in it, or whatever. And these things they make the money, but and then he threw his beer at me, and that was the end of that band.
Wait, hold on a second. But why is that artificial?
Because to me, whatever inspires you, whatever comes along, and you can't. And I never put like a timer on and say, well, this is 3 minutes. That's enough. Obviously, I don't feel that way because obviously some of these songs just stretch on and on and on. But that's not, to me, that's not songwriting. That's like songcraft, and they're 2 different things. Mm-hmm. Songcraft is to make a marketable product that's pleasant, that people like, and doesn't test their patience. And that's great. I just don't do that. I test your patience all the time.
So you would never do a songwriting challenge the way we're doing a songwriting challenge?
Well, I was thinking about that, and I was thinking about the title as you were talking about it, and I actually got a good idea. What do you think about swear words? I mean, are swear words allowed in these things?
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are they encouraged, Mike? Mike's like, yes, they are.
Depends on the situation. Yeah.
I was inspired by your conversation, and I definitely think that I can do it. I hope I don't need to have a whole production. If I can just sing it. It can just be 1 + 1. It can just be acoustic guitar and singing, or bass guitar and singing. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Whatever is needed to communicate the idea.
Yeah. Okay. A cappella, hell, whatever. I have an idea. It's gonna be
great. Yeah. Well, you've got time.
You've got time. You got a few weeks, a couple of weeks.
Yeah. I have a question for you lyrically about it. The song, The Vapor Girl, is metaphorical. And, the Vapor Girl represents something else other than a literal
girl made of vapor.
X-Men person or someone with superpowers. So she stayed in rooms so gray and squalid. What is the bigger meaning of that? If I can ask it, I don't know. Maybe you don't want to nail things down, especially something so ephemeral as vapor.
Well, that is to presume that my validation can free them. It is to say, it is meant to say, your life is shit without me.
Right.
You have nothing without me. That's what it's meant to say. That's what it's meant to convey. And that's tailored off the fact that you remember I was telling you about my friend in Moscow. Well, they have a very small house. And if you've ever seen Moscow, it's just lined with these big block apartments that are really, really tiny. And that's sort of the metaphor of somebody actually from Russia and the confines with which one will find themselves in unless and until they validate me.
Got it.
saying it out loud really is cruel. I think it's really ugly.
But that's why you make a metaphor in a song out of it, is soften the cruel, right?
Right. Yes, this is true.
Because if you were to take that idea and do like slam poetry, it could be really harsh and kind of dirty, right? And kind of grimy.
This is true.
You can do that with a song too. I mean, if you rapped it, maybe it would be a different thing. But
don't push me.
Oh my!
There's that music.
That music is the band playing us out. That's all the time we have for this particular
that just
episode.
sped by, didn't it?
It really does go by. Thank you so much, Gilbert, for
thank you so much, guys,
and taking us through this very wonderful personal project of yours.
Thank you so much. I loved it. Love talking to you guys. Thank you so much.
It's good to talk to you again. But yeah, I'm afraid it's all the time we have tonight on Song Talk Radio. Thank you all for joining us. Send us your impressions on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram to @SongTalkRadio, or send us one good old-fashioned emails to feedback@songtalk.ca. And be sure to check out our YouTube channel for live performance videos, full episodes, and so much more. People in little boxes talking to each other with scarcely any delay. It's fantastic. And you can get all that and more if you stop by the site at songtalk.ca. And please do subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's the only way we can keep our kids fed. Of course, most of us don't have kids. Subscribe today to the Song Talk Radio podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher.com, Spotify, or Podcast Addict. And don't forget to sign up for a free newsletter at songtalk.ca. And I think that's pretty well it. Oh, we've got a meetup coming up very soon, so please, it's free to join on meetup.com, and it's free to attend. So please bring your song and bring yourself to the next meetup. You can check that out at songtalk.ca, and you can find the link to the meetup. And if you want more of us, well, first of all, Gilbert, where do we get more of you?
GilbertNeal.com, Neal, GilbertNeal.com. And my record company is Wampus, so it's wampus.com. The wonderful writing that you read at the beginning of the show is all Mark Doyen, who's the record company guy. And so, check me out at GilbertNeal.com. That'll lead to all of the other stuff.
Wonderful. We shall do that. Neil, when people want more of you, where do they go?
They can come to my house. No, actually, okay, just visit me at newmodi.com. Please do not publish my address.
You're being doxxed now. And Phil, how do we get more of you? How do we get our Phil?
Yeah, just go to phillimery.ca.
Perfect. And you can get a bit of me at Proudfoot420 on Instagram. That's about it. So please stop by our website at songtalk.ca to browse past shows and find out how you might be a guest. And for God's sake, keep on songwriting.
Do it now. Hold on.
I love that bass. My God, that thing's a monster.
Yeah, Phil's a bass player too.
Yeah.
But they don't make them. They don't make those in left-handed, or unless you go to the custom shop. And I'm not going to be doing that.
No, this one actually, the bass that
You're talking about this? You're talking about this one?
Yeah, that one,
Yeah.
the jazz bass right there.
Oh,
Yeah, the Fender. Yeah, it's plays like butter.
You don't make it as a lefty.
No, are you left?
I'm left-handed. Yeah, I have a Kiesel 5-string. Are you familiar?
I am not. Phil?
So it used to be Carvin. Now it's Kiesel.
Oh,
okay.
Carvin.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
wow. I remember them.
It's nice. I don't play it enough, but
Well, that was very cool, Gilbert. I'm really glad you sort of opened up the lens from which you wrote these songs, because I'm going to listen to the rest of them through that lens now, and I think that's going to enrichen the experience.
Yeah,
kind of you guys.
Definitely
Thank you so
enhances.
much. Really doing a great show, and I really appreciate it. And,
Absolutely.
Great
Excellent.
show. Great song, very XTCE. Yes.
thank you.
You know,
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Very
very
Andy
nice,
Partridge.
yeah.
And
Andy
I'm
would
a
be
hu-
proud.
I am a huge XTC fan, so.
Have you seen that documentary, This Is Pop?
Not yet.
Oh, it's
You can check that out,
fantastic.
yeah.
Yeah, it's really good. And all the way through, they're taking the piss out of the format of music documentaries. They say, He's going like, at some point there's going to be some old has-been pontificating on the chord structure. Cut to Rick Wakeman. But yeah, he's very self-effacing. He talks about, we were just a couple of Herberts from Swindon.
Did you hear the project that Colin Moulding did with Terry Chambers? I think it's called TC and I.
No, really.
So there's I think they did one album and a video called TC and I, which is Terry Chambers and I, which was sort of presupposes that it's Colin Moulding's thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they did one song for one video. I didn't like it very much, but at the time, Andy Partridge was on Twitter. He had a Twitter account, and he just said, the nice, polite things, which is, I wish them all the luck in the world and all that stuff. And I just, it's okay. It's okay.
Is it recent?
I'd say it's about 6 years ago.
Oh, okay.
They stopped. They did one. I think they did one record and stopped. I know they toured, I think, a little bit, and they did. The album, the song was called. I can't remember what the song is called, but it's not one of those Colin Moulding like he doesn't even fuck around with the lyrics. It's like he writes a song. It's kind of got a nice melody, and he just like throws lyrics at it. I don't really like his songs at all. After like 85 or so, but that's me.
Huh. All part of the rich tapestry of humanity.
No, I don't like Standing In for Joe. No, I'm not going to listen to that. No, that's not part of the canon as far as I'm concerned.
You can't have the good without the bad.
It's true.
Phil, have you got any music in St. John's, by the way? Have you been out catching any live music?
No, the past weekend we were sort of traveling around, and but no, I hope to be going out and doing some open mic nights and catching the scenes.
I'd like to know how that goes. Yeah. Sorry, Gilbert. To bring you into the loop, Phil just moved, lock, stock, and barrel, to the very easternmost point in North America.
Right.
So he's always been a Toronto boy. So this is all new for him.
So why did you move?
Because there's no way in hell we could have ever purchased a house in Toronto.
Touche.
And so we were able to buy a 4-bedroom house on a beautiful tree-lined street. And all their costs in are less than rent was in Toronto.
Yeah.
So mortgage, tax, bills, less than rent in Toronto.
Is there an infrastructure for like music? Do they have like bars that you can play
It's really active, actually. There's
it's
a
huge
huge
music scene. It's actually where I grew up. So it's funny. I hightailed it out of there, and Phil's gone back there. But yeah, it definitely has a vibrant music scene.
And it's actually really cosmopolitan. We had like we had amazing Ethiopian food. It's it's quite it's quite a city. Actually,
it's small, but it's an international port. So that.
Yeah.
When I was growing up, we could late at night you could get Radio Luxembourg, and you can get European radio stations across the ocean.
Wow,
nice! Oh my God,
yeah, so it's really cool.
So if you're ever in St. John's, look me up.
I intend to. I'll be there on the 11th of August. So
we're very excited because we actually have guest rooms, so people stay over. So it's weird. I mean, it's weird not being in Toronto. This is the first time in my life where I haven't had a home in Toronto, so it's takes getting used to, but
for sure.
Have you lived other places other than Buffalo and Raleigh, Gilbert?
No. In fact, Canada's the only foreign country I've ever been to, but
really,
well, we're planning on going to Germany in November.
Oh.
We were going to go to Russia, believe it or not. This is like this person that I reached out to.
Mm-hmm.
We were actually planning on meeting in Russia, but I think they thought that it was some sort of a pernicious, maybe like an affair that I wanted to have, and maybe all Americans they thought that were like that, but it had nothing to do with that. But obviously, I don't want to get shoved into a limousine. so I'm going to go to Germany instead. A strange thing to say.
You know, they have the limos in Germany too. Yeah. Are you going to Berlin?
We're going to Berlin. We're going to Cologne.
Cologne. Cologne.
I think the one-way flights are to begins with an F. What's it called?
Frankfurt.
Thank you, Frankfurt. Yes, from DC. So we're planning that as we speak. Well, not as we speak, but right now.
Right. More
in the present time, yes.
Oh
Well, let me know what you think of the album, Neil.
Yeah, definitely. I'll shoot you a message once I did download it on last week when you dropped it. So it's been in my iTunes sort of, circulating through my other new stuff.
If I ever piss you guys off, if I ever say something, I want you to know that I'm working on it. I'm trying to be better. No, I'm serious. Oh,
really? Oh,
yeah. Well, no, fair enough. You may piss me off, so we'll see. We'll burn that bridge when we come to it. I'll let you know.
But let me know like what I did and what I said, and I'm really trying to be hyper aware of being more sensitive to other people instead of just worrying about myself and my own validation. So, I might as well call the record, therapy, because this is what I'm learning in therapy. Is that
and that's what therapy is great for. They really know how to turn the lens on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, what's your role in all this?
That's true.
I went the whole thing when I went through a divorce, like over 10 years ago now. I went into therapy blaming my wife for everything, and the therapist was like, "Okay, well, what did you do? What did you not do?"
Nothing. I did nothing.
Yeah, I'm not accountable here. But
I just lied there. I didn't do anything.
Yeah, exactly. By the time it was over, it's like, oh yeah, okay, now I understand I wasn't accountable.
Yeah, I did something similar, and it's very interesting. The excavation. So it takes work, and it is painful, and it is rewarding. So
it's frustrating as hell, but man, it's through it.
Yeah, I hate being wrong.
Yeah.
Questions you never thought to ask yourself. Questions
Yeah. But it has made me a better partner in a new relationship. So.
Yeah, me too. So done.
I'm still a bastard.